The need to address the climate crisis provides us with an unprecedented opportunity to rebuild our energy system with vast security, economic, and environmental benefits. And by putting significant limits on carbon emissions, and this is very critical, adopting strong complementary energy policies, we can in fact create millions of good-paying U.S. jobs. We can reduce our dangerous dependence on foreign energy supplies, and in fact, we can protect ourselves from a global climate crisis. At Google, we published a scenario in 2008 called Clean Energy 2030, which outlines one potential path to a clean energy future. In sum, Clean Energy 2030 proposes to reduce U.S. CO2 emissions about 50% below the baseline projection, while creating 9 million new jobs and with net savings of $800 billion. Renewables, especially wind, solar, and geothermal, built on a base of dramatically improved energy efficiency, are the real winners in this scenario. At the global level, the International Energy Agency estimates that between 2007 and 2030, and this is an amazing number, the world will need to invest more than $26 trillion in energy infrastructure to meet currently projected demand. As the venture capitalist John Doerr has said, global energy spending could make clean technology the biggest economic opportunity of the 21st century. The biggest economic opportunity of the 21st century. The ability of our nation to seize this historic economic opportunity will be influenced to a large extent by actions taken by government to put a significant price on carbon emissions. But a significant price on carbon, while absolutely necessary, will not be sufficient to address the climate problem, and importantly, will not put the U.S. in the position to seize the extraordinary opportunities that will come from rebuilding our entire global energy economy. A significant price will definitely send a strong signal about the need to reduce carbon emissions, but it won't, by itself, ensure that the technologies that can address the problem are invented and deployed here in the U.S. with massive, massive resulting economic, security, and environmental benefits. We need complementary energy policy mechanisms in order to take advantage of these opportunities. And we should redouble our efforts to adopt these energy policy mechanisms in the pending jobs bill, in broad federal energy legislation that is increasingly likely this year, and in the fiscal year 2011 appropriations. I would highlight 4 important energy policy mechanisms Congress and the Obama administration should support. First, we must significantly increase funding of research and development of advanced energy technologies. And you're going to hear shortly from Christina Johnson, the Undersecretary of Energy, who has been a big proponent of R&D in this area. In 1980, 10% of the total government R&D investment was in energy. Today, it is only 2%. The federal stimulus package has certainly provided a shot in the arm for clean energy projects, but there's a serious risk of falling off a funding cliff when these investments run out. We were encouraged when President Obama called for investing $15 billion per year over the next decade in clean energy technologies, and took note when Secretary Chu said that energy R&D spending must move closer to the levels in the high-tech industry, which are generally around 10% of sales. The release of the administration's FY 2011 budget earlier this week signals the Obama administration's support for increased energy R&D, but it does not go far enough in its proposed spending levels. Our failure to invest becomes glaringly apparent when we realize that barely a fifth of the top 30 manufacturers of wind turbine solar panels and advanced battery manufacturers are American. In contrast, all 5 of the world's leading Internet technology companies are from the U.S., and the Internet itself was the product of federally funded R&D work by DARPA in the 1970s. The front-page story in the New York Times earlier this week about how we're losing the green energy technology race to China is yet another wake-up call. Let me stress that the private sector cannot completely fill the serious gap in energy R&D funding. The high-risk early-stage research funded by government that has brought us major breakthroughs in biotech, information technology, and energy is generally not the province of venture capital investment or corporate research. Second, we must increase the capital available to deploy these advanced technologies at commercial scale. Moving from a nation that derives 70% of its power from fossil technologies to one based largely on clean energy will require literally trillions of dollars of investment. The challenge is that raising this kind of capital, especially for innovative technologies, is not simple. The problematic step of moving a technology from a small pilot project, often funded by venture capital investment, to full commercial scale projects financed largely by the banks is frequently the point at which many promising energy technologies die. And indeed, we call it the Valley of Death. At Google, we're major supporters of pending bipartisan Senate legislation led by Senators Bingaman and Murkowski that would create a federal clean energy deployment administration to provide various types of credit support to drive private investment in Valley of Death projects. This kind of financing entity, if created expeditiously, could help to drive the job creation we so desperately need in this country. Thus, it is being given serious consideration in pending congressional jobs legislation. I'll chair a panel of experts on CEDA, the Clean Energy Deployment Administration, and the various competing legislative proposals that would establish it on Friday here at RETECH. Third, we must build a bigger and smarter electric grid to better harness energy efficiency and renewable energy. A smarter grid will let us use our energy, will let us see our energy use, measure it, price it, and management to get the most out of every watt. At Google, we're working to advance the smart grid on several fronts. Our engineers have developed a simple, secure, and free software tool called Google Power Meter that gives consumers an easy means to see their home electricity use on their computer or smartphone. And at the Copenhagen Climate Summit in December, Google, General Electric, the Natural Resources Defense Council, and a variety of other companies and NGOs called on governments across the world to ensure that people have real-time access to their home energy information. At Google, we've also developed and been testing a fleet of plug-in hybrid electric vehicles and are looking at how large numbers of these vehicles could actually help stabilize the grid and also provide massive storage capability to support a vastly greater share of renewable generation, especially for the wind that doesn't always blow or the sun that doesn't always shine. I drove the Chevy Volt here in D.C. the other day, and it is a very impressive vehicle and one of a number we will see from various manufacturers in 2010, which I think can rightfully be called the year of the plug-in car. Beyond building a smarter grid, we also need to build a bigger grid that will allow us to tap our nation's vast clean energy resources and deliver them where needed. Siting new transmission capacity may, however, be the most vexing piece of the renewable energy puzzle, and one where new federal policy is critical if we're going to build thousands of miles of new transmission lines across multiple state borders. Fourth and finally, we must set national standards to accelerate the uptake of cleaner and more efficient technologies. Congress should adopt both a strong national renewable energy standard and a strong national energy efficiency resource standards. State renewable energy and energy efficiency standards have sparked new industry and created thousands and thousands of jobs. And renewable energy and energy efficiency are highly complementary. Thus, while we may be facing increasing competition from the traditional energy industry, our best friends in the energy efficiency business stand ready to help us lower the effective price of green electrons by pairing them with improvements in energy use. Just think of what 3 cents per kilowatt hour efficiency improvements could do in our homes, businesses, and factories, packaged with renewable energy costing several times that. Before I close, let me mention 3 examples of where a price on carbon and complementary energy policies could be catalytic. One is solar thermal power, where early on DOE-funded demonstration projects proved the technology and where today state renewable energy standards are driving demand and government-backed financing is helping plants get built. Looking ahead, an advanced geothermal energy technology called EGS, Enhanced Geothermal Systems, presents another opportunity where strong energy policy and a price on carbon could drive a new industry that could produce cheap, renewable power 24 hours a day, year-round and nationwide. And offshore wind is yet another technology with vast potential that could be driven by strong policy actions leveraging major private sector investment, especially here on the East Coast. So when it comes to renewable energy, we can indeed predict the future by inventing it. RETECH brings together professionals across an array of disciplines well positioned to do so. What are we waiting for? Thanks very much.